City Council meeting for Warr Acres, May 20th at 6 p.m. We have a quorum, and if Chief Coy could do the flag salute, that would be great.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And Chief Anderson, the invocation, please. Thank
If
you.
you would, for the invocation. Heavenly Father, as we come before you, we come with both grateful hearts and petitions. But God, our grateful hearts tonight are the fact that you have been so wonderful and such a comfort to us through many, many things. We're thankful that this evening we can say that you were with Mayor Godwin and his family. But part of the petition, God, is we ask you to be with them as they rebuild and restructure, and be with them and give them comfort and blessing. God, we also ask that your presence be with us here in this gathering. Guide our thoughts. Fill us with your wisdom. Give us the guidance and direction that you would give for this city and its citizens. And for that, Father, we thank you, and we ask it in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Okay. The next item is the consent docket. Approval of the meetings from April. Does anybody have anything on there they want to pull or talk about?
Well, he's not sitting.
Oh,
I'll make a motion to approve the consent dockets, items A through I.
I'll second.
Morris,
yay.
Amasui,
Yes.
Worley,
Yay.
Fairchild,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yay.
Evans,
Yes.
Douglas.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay. The first report I want is police chief.
Yes, outside of the report that I turned into the council, the only thing that I would add to that is just a quick update on our vehicles. We have been able to have 6 of the vehicles picked up for auction, and they're being prepared now. The other 3 are in the course of being decommissioned, and they will be picked up as soon as the decommission process gets completed, and we hope within the next month that those vehicles will be auctioned off. But if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Did you say up for auction?
Yes, ma'am, they're going to auction.
I'm fine. Chief Coy?
I don't have anything to add to it, just to clarify that we've been doing some initial inspections and walkthroughs of the Centennial project. It's a beautiful building. It's really going to be amazing to go through. And the Putnam City High School cafeteria remodel, that's going really well too. And the Walmart neighborhood market, I approved the fire plans and sprinkler changes, and I was glad to hear that they weren't going to have to close business during the construction.
Oh, are they constructing?
No, they're remodeling. But
Remodeling,
even
okay.
during the changing of some pipes and everything, they don't have to close the building down.
Okay.
And I just wanted to comment on the fantastic work you did at Roger's house, Godwin's house. He was out there over 3 hours, in 1,200 degrees. Yeah, you guys did great, and Bethany and Yukon helped out, and yeah, it was great. City clerk? Don't have anything? City attorney? Don't have anything. Mike Turman?
Just like to remind everybody that our public works is what makes America work. It takes people to do that, you know, your water, sewer, garbage service, utilities. So it takes people at the public works yard, your vendors, it takes the city hall people to all make that work. You probably noticed last month there was a lot of rain. We had about 11.61 inches of rain which was a record for April. On Cinco de Mayo, we developed our own Sinkhole de Mayo on Monday, right there at 63rd and Wood Creek Court on the north side of the parking lot in Isabella. I should have brought you a picture. About a 30-foot diameter hole developed about 20 feet deep. That was a result of an Oklahoma City water leak that was migrating from the curb line of 63rd to the north and to the manhole, and there was a void in the manhole. So fortunately, it collapsed on a Sunday, and the maintenance man of Isabella went on his own accord and got orange construction fencing and kept the site secure until he didn't know who owned it until Monday morning, and we went out and put up temporary fencing. We also got the traffic control for the lane. We could see that the lane had moved down. We were worried that maybe there was a sinkhole underneath the lane, so we went ahead and put up the traffic control devices. So also we've been working on reducing costs like hydraulic fluid. We reduced the cost from $18 to $9 a gallon, and so sometimes the trucks, when they leak, they can use like 50 gallons, so it can be expensive. We also reduced our coolant from $10 to $5 a gallon by ordering in 55-gallon drums. So some of the trucks can use like 10 gallons, so it's quite a bit of money. Also, in our wash bay, we went to a tote going from a 55-gallon drum. That reduced the cost from roughly $11 to about $7, and we did that by diluting it in half because we didn't need the full strength, so trying to reduce cost overall. So if there's any questions, the construction has begun on our Shoreline Drive on the sinkhole. The sinkhole also developed, I think the day after the Monday at between the two houses on Shoreline Drive. It was about 11 foot deep, probably about 15 foot long between the two houses. Fortunately, the homeowners were not mowing or over that particular area of the yard, and it could have been a bad ending. So Craft Rentals has moved in on Wednesday. They've already cut the road, and they've got about 50 feet of pipe installed. They've got the road completely blocked off, and we have fencing around that area, and they're in bypass pumping.
I had a question. The sinkhole that was in the parking lot there, you said the manhole had a void in it. Was that the interceptor manhole, or is that for,
Yes.
for storm sewer?
No. That's exactly where the interceptor runs, right there on the south lane of Wood Creek and 63rd, runs across, and there's a manhole right there. And apparently at the interface where the pipe connects to the manhole, that's how the water was. Nobody saw the leak visibly. It was actually migrating through the ground and then through a void right there at that interface somehow, and that's what was taking all the dirt out. So you can imagine the area almost as big as this horseshoe and about 10 to 12 feet deep. Once we got out there, you could see the water from the main. It was a 12-inch main, so it was running pretty good. So it did it over a period of time. Fortunately, nobody drove over it with a truck or something of that sort, and it collapsed in. It would have been an even bigger mess.
I'm guessing the dirt went
Yes.
in the pipe and
Yeah.
washed.
Yes,
Imagine.
in conversation with Clint at the Bethany Workers plant, they had received a lot of dirt and silt and from that, and also the sinkhole there at
the house.
Shoreline.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of dirt that migrated, so you can imagine 3 to 4 feet wide, 11 feet tall, maybe 15, 20 feet long, so that's quite a bit of dirt that was migrated through the system.
Did you say it's a water line from Oklahoma City?
That's correct.
Did they fix the line yet, or?
Yes, we actually called them that day. We got them to come out, and the water that we could see was very clear. And of course, it was raining, so the sewer water is brown, obviously.
Yeah.
The creek had some red dirt and stuff, and they kept saying, "Oh, it's not us." And so we finally took some caution tape and threw a water bottle down there and got a sample without going down in the hole. And immediately their test kit tested purple, so we knew it was water. And so it still took another hour or two to convince them that it was their leak. And so they came out at 10 that night. I stayed until maybe 2 or 3 o'clock, and then Ronnie went ahead and stayed because we were worried they might be a sinkhole underneath the
Pavement.
63rd Street.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure that if it was, then we might have to close off the other lane. So he was there all night until 10 a.m. the next morning when they got down to the main and got it fixed.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
really appreciate that.
So if there is an emergency, there is no contact, like on a weekend? Nobody?
There was, but he didn't know. I think he called Oklahoma. He didn't know who to call. And so when he didn't know to call the Warr Acres after hours, which is the police department. And then it would call our person on call, but it was kind of at the interface of the trust line, and it becomes the Warr Acres line. He just didn't know who to call. So,
And we're trying to get a map of the Warr Acres sewer line versus the truss lines to find out.
yeah, that
Who's
might
gonna-
be something we put on the website with some numbers to call,
Yeah. Oh, well, the city engineer, city planner, and librarian aren't here, so, guess we'll move on to the next item. Final public hearing, discussion and possible action on a resolution requesting OKC to cut off the water service for several Warr Acres properties for non-payment of sewer fees, and that's Crystal.
I had 3 that have paid since y'all have gotten this notice that y'all can take off there. Roger Galbraith, Edward Rutherford, and the Dominguez and Fuentes. Other than that, I haven't had any payments or contact from anybody else on the list.
Did Dorothy ever come in?
She made her first 2 payments. I have not seen her with the
Is that-
payment that should have been on the 10th.
Is that the lady that begged us and,
Yeah, Dorothy Paul, yeah. Okay.
Do y'all have any questions about what y'all have in your packets?
I feel like you've done your due diligence. Thanks for all your hard work.
Get a motion on,
No, we gotta, you wanna do it?
motion on approving that?
Motion to open a public hearing?
Second?
Oh. Anybody here?
They gotta vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. Morris,
Yay?
Amosway,
Yes.
Worley,
Yay.
Fairchild,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yay.
Evans,
Yes.
Douglas.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Anybody here
Is
from the
Speak to
public?
anybody here for a utility bill?
No?
Motion to close the public hearing?
I'll second.
Sorry, it's a formality.
Morris,
Yay?
Amosway,
Yes.
Worley,
Yay.
Fairchild,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yay.
Evans,
Yes.
Douglas.
Yes.
Motion passed.
And we're gonna do motion for action on it?
I'll make a motion that we send a list to Oklahoma City to disconnect service to the residents that haven't paid as listed, except for the 3 that have caught up their payments.
I'll second it.
Morris,
Yay?
Amosway,
Yes.
Worley,
Yay.
Fairchild,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yay.
Evans,
Yes.
Douglas.
Yes.
Motion passed. Thank you, guys.
Well, the next item, Javier is not here. He was gonna do a presentation on U.S. Small Business Administration disaster loans. We have the form that he gave us. There is, currently, they were closing, I think it was May 27th, for the disaster in November, but in the future, they are probably going to open up some more relief, maybe possibly for the rains in April and May, but they don't know yet. So if anyone is interested, you can contact the U.S. Small Business Administration to see about getting any help. I don't think we had anyone in November that turned in any damage, but, so, I thought he'd be here, but anyways. Okay, discussion and possible action on authorizing the police department,
Public Works.
no, Public Works, sorry, I was looking at PWD, to lease purchase a Mack LR dual drive Heil, I'm not sure how to say that, Python Durapack 28-yard cost $92,796 per year. I'll let Mike Terman talk about that.
Unless you wanna do it.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I can click for you up there. Just let me know which one.
So I wanted to start this item with an overview of our budget for 2025. So the first line tells you the general fund resources, and the second number is the general fund appropriations. So you can see down below in the red where there's right now a shortfall of $211,343. So I wanted to start out with showing kind of how our overall operational budget looks like. So sources of revenue would be new businesses with sales tax. That would be economic development. I think Mike had some good ideas that he mentioned that we don't spend a lot of time talking about economic development. So I think we need to spend more time developing what properties we have left. Our budget is only 5 months away, so we haven't really spent a lot of time on our budget. We just get the budget, we go through the motions, we talk about it, but I think we're at the point we're at a neutral budget. We have no monies to give raises, et cetera. So the other things you can see, the usual sales tax, franchise taxes, business license, permit fees, police fines, and then enterprise funds, which would be residential and commercial sanitation fees and sewer fees. So in 2025, our residential sanitation fees should be somewhere around $1.3 million, $1,382,400. Towards the end, under Mayor Godwin, we raised the rate to $36. That's approximately 13% of our fund budget summary. Here's kind of a spreadsheet that I didn't give you, starting in 2010 at the top left. It shows you our monthly rate was $12.10. So it wasn't raised until 2015 to $17.50. And then again in 2019 to $24. And then late of 2024, we raised it to $36. You can see on the bottom spreadsheet below at the very bottom line on the increases, that's showing you each year what you were giving up that you could have recouped if you'd raised the rates to break even. So in a period of 2020 to 2024, due to landfill fees, labor, that would be temporary labor that went up from $16 and some change to $20.12 an hour for temporary labor, to fuel, which like in 2022, the fuel averaged $5, so there was a huge surcharge for that year. So in those years, we could have recouped $133,748. So you can see that we've had a history of just going along with not changing the rates. That's got to change. We just put in, I think Matt Love drafted up an ordinance to allow a 3% increase. So that's a good start. There's a view of of a typical 20-yard rear loader. That's a Freightliner truck. We have 3 of those Freightliners, and we have 1 Peterbilt with a Ohio Packer. Okay. This is an overview of how we do the residential garbage service now. We have approximately 3,236 active accounts, plus 88 accounts, plus or minus, that are on the do not pick up list. So the monthly fee is currently $36. Using 3,100 accounts, you can kind of see that the estimated revenue and our estimated sanitation costs. Below in equipment is our 4 trucks that we have. The labor portion, we have 1 foreman, 3 CDL drivers, 1 full-time carrier, and 5 day laborers, which we are paying the temporary service $20.12 an hour. If they work overtime, we're paying them $30 an hour. The weekly service routes, as you know, we have the Monday, Thursday routes, which is north of 58th Street, excluding 58th Street. And we have the Tuesday, Friday routes, which is south of 58th Street, including 58th Street. So Mondays are a little bit heavier. You can see we use 3 trucks, 3 drivers, 1 full-time carrier, 5 temps at roughly 10 hours. And Thursday is a little bit lighter, and then the Tuesday route is the same thing on Tuesday and a little bit lighter on Friday. This is your side loader truck. This is your mechanized trash truck. This particular one is a Mack. It has a Heil packer with they call it the Python. The yellow portion is actually the arm that extends out. So we have one out here in the parking lot that we can take a look at here. So next slide. So this truck is currently priced through Sourcewell at $390,000, which is complies with our Competitive Bidding Act. The estimated cost for 4,500 polycarts by statistics, since we have 3,200 homes, they estimate that 1.5 of those will have two carts. So that's $288,324. The company would deliver each cart to the house as part of that cost. We would keep 2 of the rear loading trucks for a backup and equip those with what they call tippers. You would actually roll the cart up to the rear of the truck, and it has a hydraulic assembly that tips the cart up into the back of the hopper and then compacts the trash. Bethany currently uses that system along with 1 side loading truck. The pickup schedule would be once a week per household, assuming the 4,500 polycarts, roughly 1125 per day, assuming an 8-hour day, 2.5 polycarts per minute, landfill time of 1 hour. So what do you get out of this? You get reduced operational costs versus current operational costs, mainly due to less employees. Next slide. This is just how I came up with the figures, and Ward 1 has the most homes at 977. Okay, next slide. Ward 2, 608. Next slide. 761 in Ward 3. 786. Next slide. So obviously we would try to average 1,150 carts per day, so we'd have to configure the routes if you decide to go this option. So it would be approximately 1,150 carts a day, and we'd have to reconfigure the route lines. All right, next slide. So this is kind of an overview of your expenses for residential. So you see the proposed side loader expenses, and then you see the 2024 expenses. So if you look down at the Public Works labor expenses, you can see that's where there's a significant savings. So instead of having 6 carriers, you would have 1 carrier. And you would reduce from 3 to 1 CDL driver, but we're going to utilize one of the 2 front loader drivers as a backup driver for the truck. So we're going to combine forces to do that. So this figure includes the cost of the truck in the monthly rate, even though we have a CIP budget item that we could pay for the truck directly, but in conversation with other city managers, they recommended to go ahead and include your truck cost into your monthly rate to recover that cost. Next slide. We have Chris Knight is here with River City Hydraulics. He was nice enough to drive the truck from, he's out of Tulsa. He drove the truck down here at my request out in the parking lot. And if you've got some words to speak. Chris has worked, you worked for the City of Stillwater in the past?
Yes, Chris Knight, I'm with River City Hydraulics, and if you have any questions that I could maybe answer about not only the truck, but automation, I'd love to be able to try to answer those if you have any.
What's your estimation of how many carts should or could be emptied in a day? I mean, we're basing this on 1,400. What's the maximum that is typically done in an 8-hour day? And I know some of that would depend on landfill time.
Well, it varies from how far you have to go to your landfill, but I'll refer back to Stillwater just because I was a solid waste director there for many years. But, you know, they, in a day, a driver itself probably dumps anywhere from 1,100 to 1,400 a day, and that's just one driver, one route. And they run 5 routes. So that's how many they're doing in a day, and they run Monday through Friday. So a driver itself can collect anywhere from 800 to 1,200 carts a day. Just depends on the driver and their efficiency, and that kind of comes as they have more practice with the truck and everything. So a good number is always between 800 and 1,000. I mean, that's including when you're doing a route, that's including breaks, lunch, trip to the landfill, those types of things. So,
Mike, in your estimation, do you think we're gonna need to be planning towards a second truck after the 5 years?
My plan is, if you decide to approve and go with the mechanized pickup, we would keep 2 of the rear loading trucks. I also included a driver for that truck and 1 carrier to remain behind to kind of, if you go that way, to settle in. So we could, obviously you'll get better over time as you do the procedure. They'll get better over time at it and become more efficient. So I think in the transition, there'll be a transition period. So I think the 2 rear loaders will cover, because the truck won't always work 100% of the time. Now, we've had really good luck with the Max on our front loaders. So obviously the newer the equipment, the less downtime. So, but the Max have been very reliable. Are they more expensive? Yes. Is the Heil more expensive? Yes. Are they better? Yes, they are, because you have less downtime. Repairs are at $250 an hour, and some repairs could be days or weeks. But we've had very good luck with the Heil front loaders.
So you're based out of Tulsa. Is that where service would have to be done on the hydraulic side of this component?
no, we have mobile units, so we're taking care of the Oklahoma City customers by coming to you. So we will come to you. Now, with that being said, if it's like some reason it was a very large repair, I'm not going to say that something may not have to go to Tulsa, but we're going to try to do everything we can right here on site.
And also, we have been using a mobile mechanic who's worked out very well, and also Dave and myself. I've taken on trying to increase the efficiency of the repairs. So we've become very, like hoses and stuff are easy. I say it's easy. We can generally, like if you had to take the truck in, it might be 2 or 3, 4 days. I mean, if it's not too late in the day, we can go down to the hose supplier. We'll take it off, go to the hose supplier, and we'll have the hose on, and we'll make a run at lunch and double up at lunch and get the part and come back and put it on. The truck's back in service in 2 or 3 hours. So unless it's something major, we also have a scanner. We can clear a lot of the codes in the trucks. The trucks have become extremely complicated. They have multiple computers. The chassis has it has the ECU, it has a transmission computer, it has a computer for the emissions. Then the Packer has 3 controllers, computer controllers. It has some sort of network cable. Why, I do not know. But it's just a garbage truck picking up garbage, but it's not the space shuttle, but the engineers think it is. So, but the Heil has been extremely reliable. You can call their helpline. They're very helpful. You can usually get around it. Now, sometimes we haven't been shut down. I can't think on the Mac and the Heil. We have not been out of service for any length of time on those trucks.
I will also add that as far as River City, we're a dealer for the Heil product in 4 different states. So we have 4 different shops, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Memphis. So far as parts, we keep a lot of parts on hand. If we don't have it in our Tulsa shop, we have it at one of our other shops. And so we can get the parts. That's not an issue. And the service, we'll do whatever we have to do take care of the truck.
What's the average lifespan of one of these trucks?
That's kind of a loaded question. So it depends on how well it's taken care of, greased, maintained, those types of things. But the data shows on an automated side loader, about year 5, you're going to start seeing potential maintenance to increase on them. How long then can they last? There's automated side loaders out there 10, 15 years old, but they may also be paying a hefty maintenance cost on them too. So they can last a long time, but almost about year 5, you're going to start seeing where potentially the maintenance costs will start going up.
Yeah, and when you look at all the trade magazines for refuse, they'll show you the chart and you can see the curve. The cost of ownership is pretty flat, and then when you get after year 5, it starts getting steeper. And then we have our unit 912 in the yard. We just spent, with our mobile mechanic, saved us probably $10,000. He repaired a seal and then, need some water, replaced the radiator, saved a significant amount of money. And also, I forgot to mention, the truck that you approved for us to repair at $12,000, I pushed the point, we did some additional investigation, and we discovered one of the parts, was it the air compressor, there were some O-rings, and so we washed it off real good, and we kind of pushed, and we found those 2 O-rings hadn't seated properly, and we were able to seat those for under $500. He was able to do it. He's more limber than I am and younger, so he was able to get in there. But we got it fixed, so we didn't have to expend that $12,000. So.
Well, you got to imagine on a trash truck, especially an automated truck, whether it be the front loader or an automated, it's the arm and the packer. I mean, it's doing that 1,000 some odd times a day. So if you're collecting, say you used 1,000, right? So let's say you're collecting 4 days a week, so you're 4,000 a week, doing that all year long. That's why about year 5 you start to see that increase a little bit. It's doing a lot of work every day.
And Chris mentioned there's for the arms, there's a bearing kit that you'd want to keep on top of. You want, obviously we have some, I've found some grease that is really good. It's expensive, but it has superior lubrication properties, clingability. It solved a lot of our greasing problems when we got this product, but it stays in the joints. It has some all the technical engineering terms. Also, my personal vehicle that I had before I bought this vehicle, I had for 18 years, so I'm big on maintenance. So, you got to grease the things, keep on top of it. I like machines. It's an expensive piece of equipment if you decide to buy it, and I don't want to see it get tore up. It's got to be utilized and taken care of. So I'm right there on top of it. So the 5-year is a great number. You can get a salvage value, which lowers the cost of ownership. Parlay that back into another truck. Of course, as you know, the trucks are going to go up 3 to 5% a year. Like in one of the front loaders went up from $305,000 one year. The following year it was $355,000 right after the COVID crisis. So pricing went way up. So they're going to continue to increase over time anyway. So the 5 years is great. That's been a big struggle at the yard, is to try to get the equipment younger. You buy newer equipment and then try to get rid of it quicker. That gives you the most value. Once it gets into that curve of repairs and it's out of service, and an air compressor is $2,500, a radiator could be $5,000. The cost of ownership goes way up.
Okay, I have a lot of questions, but they're not concerning the truck.
Thank you.
So my first question, you said it would just be 1 time a week. Sorry, I know people are going to be calling the mayor. How big of a garbage can is that? Like
95 gallons, isn't that what?
But I mean, compared people that are watching on TV or whatever. So if you have the regular garbage cans that they have outside, how many of those can you fit in one of these garbage cans?
I knew you were going to ask that, and I have the number, but I haven't looked at it in a while. So the cart is 96 gallons. 96 gallons. So currently our trash service allows 4 40-gallon cans. So that's 160 gallons. So if you had 2 carts, you'd be
2 carts.
a little bit over that capacity. We also allow 8 33-gallon trash bags, like for leaves and grass, if you put those out by the curb. So they're 96 gallons.
Okay. So how will people get the option to pick 2 carts or 1 cart? Is there going to be a mailing that's going to go out? Are we going to walk to people's houses and ask them? Like, how is this going to be accomplished?
That'll be the next step. I mean, this, to me, this is the scoping meeting to determine if you want to move to the side loader or if you want to continue the service just like it is. So obviously there'll be an ordinance. Bethany has an ordinance. I didn't even get a chance to look at it. So I can bring you back all those details of how they contacted people to determine whether you need a cart and a half, or 2 carts, well, half cart, 2 carts, or even a 3rd cart. There is some families that have, people that have large families, they might need a 3rd cart for an additional fee, but obviously you want to recover your costs and your base fee to cover your monthly fees. And there might be a consideration for, I call it the granny can, but they say to stay away from the smaller granny cans. But there might be, based on a water rate, maybe a reduced fee for people that don't need particularly 96 gallons.
Okay.
And the cart life is approximately, from what I've read, 10 to 15 years. Obviously, there's always situations that get hit by cars, or the guy crushes them in the truck, things like that.
Someone throws burning trash in them.
And burning, I think Bethany had, when they started up, Ronnie did their carryover, their burn-in period. They had a couple people putting ashes in and they burned the carts up, and we'll probably have a segment that says, hey, if you burn the cart up, you get to buy one.
I just have 2 more questions.
All right.
Okay, the main one, if we switch to this type of trash pickup, are people's rates going to go up again? Like, how much will it be the rate they're already paying, or are we going to have to increase it because we're switching to this?
That's a great question. So on one of the previous, can you go back a couple slides? Go up. Right there, that's it. All right, down at the bottom, you see the estimated break-even monthly rate. So that's my estimated break-even rate, $24. So you could either leave the rate at $36, which is the current rate. You can move it to $27. You can move it to $28.
How much would
we'll
it
have
be
less.
if you had 2 carts?
It would be, I know Bethany used a smaller nominal fee. I haven't actually put a pencil to it to determine the ratio of it. But I can definitely, if you decide to do this, I can definitely have an answer for you for the 2nd cart and the 3rd cart.
I just know those would probably be the questions that people would
Oh, yeah,
be
yeah.
concerned about. would be-
Yeah, I mean, if you don't do this, then there's, we'd waste a lot of time going through ordinances and trying to create all this additional data.
Now, one of the things that's going to be a benefit is we'll have less labor per truck, probably,
Yes.
with using the arm truck, right?
That's
The
correct. I
mechanized
mean-
truck. So how does that give us a cost savings on labor? And
Yeah, you
how
can see
much?
up in the Public Works labor expense right there.
Okay,
So you've got, just picture you have 3 trucks, 3 drivers, and 2 carriers per truck. So you have 6, 7, 8, 9 people. Directly can go down to 2 to 3 people. So you got 6 people savings. And just remember that those 5 people are temporary, so we're not paying their insurance
okay.
and their workers' comp and all those things if they were full-time employees. So that number would actually probably even be higher.
And how many people per truck are you thinking on the mechanized trucks? How many?
It'd just be
2?
one.
Just one?
It'll be one.
There'll just be one.
But our current, we're to get, if you decide to go with it, to kick it off, we would have the one side loader truck. We would have one of the rear loaders equipped with a tipper. So I've included that
Yeah,
cost in the
okay.
$24. So there's going to be some streets that are dead ends and some areas we might not be able to get into, which we're going to utilize that truck. And then once they're done, we can move those people. They can go work in the streets and parks. They can do streets, crack sealing, concrete, if they're not utilized in a full day. But we're going to you need some leeway because
Yeah.
as anybody with employees knows, If you have 10 employees, more than likely, any given day, you're only going to have 8 of them, hopefully. So Warr Acres has a generous sick leave. We have a generous vacation. Once you've been here, you can get up to 4 weeks of vacation. So you have to man the fort. There's kind of a hidden cost in there with the more generous benefits that, you know, the sick leave, you still have to man the forts. So yes, to accommodate that, that's figured in the $24.
Okay.
I just have one. And then my last question, then I'll let
Now you
Judy
can
ask.
answer. Go ahead.
The last question I have, big trash. So is that going away then? Do you have a truck that you can still do that? What would happen to big trash? Because I know that would be questions that we
I'd
get
love for
constantly.
big trash to go away. But realistically, I would think we do it 4 times a year. It's costing you about $80,000
Each time or all year?
for the year.
The year.
For the year.
I would suggest, my suggestion would be to go to once a year, maybe the springtime, and then on demand. Because everybody's paying for that overall. They may not necessarily use it, but we're seeing about 200 to 300 people per period use it. Obviously in the warmer times a little bit more, not so much in January, but you would pay as you go. So I would suggest, because we're at the budget neutral, so
Yeah.
you know, it's kind of like managing your own personal finances. You know, if there's maybe that's $50,000 you didn't have that would be paid for by the citizens to remove their trash.
I can kind of see, and that we still offer the dumpster too, right?
Yes,
So,
and we offer the 4-yard dumpster at
17, is that?
17. Did we change? Yeah, we left it at 17 to try to encourage the removal of debris instead of the code enforcement. So it's kind of a loss leader. I don't know if it's a loss leader. It helps minimize the code enforcement. It's available. It's easy for people to get rid of debris and trash. It makes the city look cleaner. The front loaders are making the city pretty good money, probably $300,000 a year. You got 2 people, 2 trucks. So you might even be making more than that on the efficiency side of it. So that kind of gives you an idea of the efficiency of mechanization. So, you know, you just have the truck, one driver, it picks up 8 cubic yards, and it generates a lot of money too. So that would also increase part of your revenue toward your overall general fund.
I don't think, there's some areas in Warr Acres that the spring and the fall, they're putting out big trash and every house has it. So to say we're gonna increase your bills, but then now we're gonna reduce the services we're providing, there are gonna be people lining up at the doors trying to come in here.
We're not increasing the bill, right?
We just did the $36. We just increased it. And then now you're gonna reduce services and say we're only gonna do big trash 1 time a year. I don't.
And that's a policy that you guys can make. I mean, if you want to include that, we can put that number right in the overall sanitation residential costs, and you can figure that in, and everybody pays their portion of that $80,000, whether or not they use it. So our ideal was if we give 1 cleanup, 1 pickup a year, and then the rest of them, you just call on demand. We bring out the grappling truck and charge you a fee to pick up those items. Now, I can say, because of manpower and measuring and so forth, we should be charging, a lot of the piles are bigger than the 4 cubic yards. So we should be charging more. And we tried to do that on 1 billing period, and we got confronted by every person, and we didn't have photos and measurements to contest. You know, once it's gone, you can't see it. So,
Yeah.
And
you know, how
this-
do you know you picked that up? Well, in Oklahoma City, they have multiple people that come out. They measure it, take a photo, and you can see the house number right there. 2 or 3 people measure it. They come up with 5 cubic yards, and they charge you $17 times 5.
And that's why I was
This-
bringing up the dumpster, you know, it's like, well, with big trash, if you're gonna, you know, reduce that, at least we have the dumpster handy, and, I mean, that could be
Pretty
a
cheap.
selling point.
This-
The only thing, you'd have to point that out to them, hey, you could still get the dumpster for $17. And
Yeah.
It'll hold quite a bit. We've actually done
Right.
it.
This last
And-
big trash, we had a lot more than
We
usual.
did.
And I'm trying to remember, I think it was, we had to pay the landfill 58,000 for April, I think it was.
It could have been, yeah.
I think it was 58,000 for April.
Yeah,
So that's huge.
Yeah, we had the windstorm, we had that windstorm that
Yeah,
Friday
yeah.
night, so windy. There was a tremendous amount of limbs that was blown down, so there was a huge amount of limbs. If you want to see them, go over to the Public Works Yard, there's a big pile
Yeah.
over there. So you could offer a free landfill day at Oklahoma City Landfill. We could see if we can get an agreement with them I wouldn't recommend taking your car out there because it's a very harsh condition. One guy took his truck out there and the compactor ran over it. The guy wasn't in the truck, but he ran over the truck and smashed it, so.
I used to have a contract with one of them doing, staking out their natural gas wells on the landfill site.
Right.
It was interesting.
All right.
I have a couple questions. So when you say it's 92,796 per year for 5 years, which comes to right around 464,000, when you say budgeted in CIP for 450, is that just for this year? Or is that did you calculate that out for the 5?
No, we actually budgeted $450,000 in the CIP budget. In conversations with different people, they recommended that most cities are going to a lease purchase. And you're just paying it out the smaller amount over 5 years instead of, would you want to spend your whole half of your CIP budget on the one truck, or you pay the interest over 5 years?
So this new process would alleviate the spews problems, wouldn't it?
The what?
The
The
what?
spew problems. This would alleviate
leaking problem?
Yeah.
Yes, the configuration of the rear-loading truck, it has a drain hole in the bottom of it. So the manufacturer's solution is you put a plug in it, and I wish I'd included a picture. So when you put a plug in it and it's wet, it builds up a trough of
Muck.
the muck water. And when you crush it in front of your mom's house, you get the phone call, which I have gotten. And,
From your mom.
And from other people's houses. So we've actually had the DEQ come out because we had a citizen get mad because we walked across his lawn, so he called the DEQ on us, and they came out, oh, you can't have any sludge coming out. Well, that's the manufacturer's solution. Now, there is a pump available that can be connected to that. haven't had time to look into it, but with the new truck, it's actually contained with the floor, and there's a rear seal on the tailgate that you have to maintain and keep, so it's gonna be a lot less.
So it would be, with the tippers, it's going to be there, potential for it with the tippers?
Well, I'm looking at, there is a sump pump available from Heil of installing the sump pump, because I don't like getting those phone calls.
Okay.
Because we generally go out and try to clean it up. We try to clean it up with the jetter and clean it off, but if we can just keep it contained in the truck and move to the next level to try to minimize the phone calls and provide a better service.
And then I have one more question,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
it's a biggie, sorry.
That's okay, go for it.
So have we looked at how cost-effective this is as to farming it out and doing a waste management such as Oklahoma City or something like that?
Yeah.
I mean, do we have a comparison?
As far on the front loaders, I can tell you that Mickley brought in Republic. And on the front loader cost, we were lower. The Republic guy couldn't believe it. But I said, well, we have less overhead. I mean, we have our city hall, we have 2.8 square miles, we have a smaller workforce, we just don't have to travel as far. Republic refused to bid the residential trash service as it, like we do it now with the rear loader. They don't want any part of that. They're all mechanized. As far as having an actual number of what they would do, you're talking about outsourcing. Can you go to the next slide, Mike? There's a section in here on outsourcing. Keep going,
That one?
keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going down. I think it's down towards the bottom. Keep going. Keep going? More? Okay. So the option of outsourcing sanitation services, I knew you were going to ask that question. So actually, Chris Knight was at Stillwater, and there's part of his story is in there. So when you read all these stories of cities that's tried to outsource, they give up control of the service. And guess who still gets the phone calls? The front desk of City Hall. So once they, you decide to outsource it, you sell your trucks off, you get rid of your labor, their rates tend to go up. Unless you have a really good attorney and they write the contract really well where they can't get the rates going up. So the rates will eventually go up. You lose control. Maybe it works for some cities. That would be a decision that you all would want to make. If you want to try to outsource it, you could do that. I mean, that is an option. But my recommendation would be not to outsource it. From everything I've read, Phoenix went through an outsourcing. They're a huge city. They outsourced. 6 months later, they just paid the penalty clause because there were so many problems and phone calls and it didn't work and the citizens were mad. They just re-owned it, took it back over and got it back into service. So there's some reading. I didn't include that, but I can get that definitely to you. But it is a great question. But my recommendation to be is I think one of the things that people always tell me when I call them back, when they call and they get a phone call, I can't believe you called me back. Or they call and have a question or miss trash. The lady goes, I'm surprised you hadn't put me on call blocker. I'm like, no, you're okay. I says, what's going on? They missed me again for the 4th time. Well, let's figure out what's going on. So they're really amazed that we call them back, and they like that service. And I think that's what separates Warr Acres from the surrounding communities, that we have this personalized service. I mean, you could drive down to the yard, or you can get a hold of the mayor or the council person, or it's your equipment. It's your equipment. We're serving you. We're here to make your lives better and easier so you don't have to worry about it. So yes, you could outsource it. So would it probably be cheaper? They're probably going to give you the teaser rate is what I call it. And then once they got you, makes it very difficult. And you still get the phone calls. If they do a great, it's like anything you do. You get a great contractor and he does a great job and you love the work, it's great. And when you get a sorry one, it's miserable. So yes, that was a good question.
A lot of information came one time. Let me sort them. So instead of twice a week, we're gonna go with once a week. So basically, we're gonna be cutting in half the amount of garbage that we collect from houses. The total of the 2 containers is what you collect once on every route, every time you do it. So basically, you are cutting the trash that you're collecting into half.
We're still collecting the same amount of trash whether you pick it up once or twice a week. You're going to generate the same amount of trash. Go to the next slide. Do I have my? That's the end. I think it's at the very first, at the front, on the second page from the very first. Keep going up to the very beginning. Go to the very beginning if you can.
Yeah, I have to do it one at a time. But go ahead, you can still answer. I know what she's saying. She's saying if somebody has 2 or 3 garbage cans twice a week that get picked up, so 6 garbage cans, now they'd have to have 2 carts.
And they can always get a 3rd cart if they have a large family. There was on a hot water tank inspection back in the past before we needed.
And they have to pay for it.
They have to pay for it.
Not the first
They have
one,
to
not
pay
the
for-
first one, but the second
The
one.
second one and the third
Yeah.
one, they have to pay
Makes
for
sense.
it.
I'm not sure what Bethany charges, but it might be like $2.50 a
On
month.
people,
and
we
then
just raised the price of trash last year.
It could help people to reduce their trash too.
They could recycle.
We also
Couple
lost money on our trash
Think
collection
of environment
last
here,
year.
right?
oh, yeah, that's it
All
right. That's
these
it right there,
years,
Mike.
we've been
No,
paying
go back.
extra more than we made.
The one with
Yeah.
all the writing.
Understand,
No,
But this is not how people
it was the one with all the
will see
writing on it, the straws and all
What
that
else
stuff.
in their life
That one right there,
got
stop.
cheaper? Did gasoline get cheaper? Did their groceries get cheaper? Did their labor get
Nope.
cheaper?
I want them. It's not, I do not want them. But cutting it into once a week with going,
Just trying to think of all the questions we're gonna get from,
Right.
Absolutely.
Our
That's a
constituents.
great question.
They will
Week.
have,
And I-
Bethany does once a week. They just
Tulsa does
switched
once
to
a week.
this.
We're the only ones,
4 years
we're,
ago.
we're the only city that does it twice a week.
and it will keep all the trash in one container, not blowing all over the.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's not messy.
okay,
As
okay,
messy.
hold on, let me finish, please. We're talking about that we're gonna basically have people pay extra for a second container and extra for a third container, and we are going to cut the service in half. This is how it's going to look like. I understand you're shaking your head, but it's going to be different.
You're-
If you can offer them to containers, I think that would be fair. Because
Right.
going from 4 containers twice a week, that's gonna be hard.
The city of
Well-
Bethany charges $2.58 for an extra cart.
Well, tell the people to move to Bethany then.
I'm just telling you
think-
the
think-
amount.
No,
Suggesting
it's,
that's what we could charge.
we can, you
It's a
saw
small
what
amount.
happened when the price went up.
Yeah.
So,
I
So-
think,
Script,
I think there's we just gotta find a better way to, I mean, my personal opinion is, going to less days like that with a bigger cart will, one, help keep the city cleaner, because we're not
Yes.
gonna have stuff blowing around everywhere. Two, it will make people think about their refuse use, so we will actually have less garbage from people, because they'll be thinking about it. And sure, we just need to find a better way to sell it than, hey, you're gonna have to pay so much and you're gonna get less service, because really, I honestly don't see it that way.
Do you think I enjoy running in the middle of the street collecting my trash cans every time, and especially
Yes.
when it's
Well,
left on the curb,
yeah.
when people turn, and I have replaced it several times, I stop.
I'll tell you what, one of the biggest things I'm gonna get is people are gonna say, oh, what about, because I got a lot of elderly people in my ward. So they're gonna be, they get side of the house service,
Your
and we still do that.
well, that's what we'll have to address in the new ordinance now. They call it the handicap provision. I haven't really read through it. I don't know if it's all members of the household have to be handicapped for us to go up and get the cart.
Yeah.
I know in Oklahoma City, I've seen them do it. They actually stop the truck, they roll up, they get the cart, they empty it, and then roll it back. So we'll have to really think hard on this provision, because people tend to take advantage of things if you give them any loopholes. So,
Yeah.
but I definitely want the service, that would be a consideration for handicap that are legitimate. So that's a legitimate.
I would think even charging an extra fee for that would
It could
go a
be.
long way, because a lot
It
of
could
people
be a
like
small
that.
fee to,
And the cars have wheels, so it almost makes it easier than what we're doing now.
right. But to your,
This is the third time.
But to your question, I'll use my mom for example. So she is older, so she puts it on the front porch and I take it out to the curb, maybe half of a 33-gallon bag. So what about all the people that use less trash? And then we have households that have 10 people. So they might need a third can, so we'll figure out to equalize the rate as best as possible. But you could do it by a base fee. I mean, if you truly did it in a perfect world, you could measure each one by weight and volume and then charge each person for exactly what they put in there.
Can you do
But-
I have
that?
one bag
How about we
a
do
week.
that?
One bag a week, and I'm paying the same. So, yeah, it's,
I mean,
No.
I look at it this way. If we all have cell phones, a lot of us have cable TV. So if how many people buy coffee? $8 a cup of coffee. I don't know. I don't drink
Right.
coffee. I see people at Starbucks and all these other coffee shops. Everybody has cell phones. What do we pay for cell phones? We pay a lot of money. We pay sports. If you have any activities, it's expensive. So should have went to this slide first. I was wanting to try to get everybody kind of food for thought. How many people use straws every day? Or I'm a no straw person. I don't like straws. I just like to drink out of the cup. So there's 500 million straws are used daily in the United States. Now, part of those are probably unused, so every time you go to the restaurant, they always give you a straw. I don't need the straw. You're going to get the straw, and you're probably going to get another straw. I don't use the straws here. Take them back. No, you got to take them. No. There's 2.3 billion single-use condiment packets are unused and thrown away. And it's not daily. Is it daily? I think that's right, daily in the United States. So we went through Arby's the other day, got myself and Mom an Arby's burger. There was like 10 packs, horsey sauce and Arby's. There was 2 sandwiches. It's like, you tell them like 2 packs of Arby's.
Sauce,
And
that's
the
it.
bag is, you're like, we don't need 20 packs of this stuff. So you can see here, this is food for thought. The United States is 4.22% of the world's population. We produce 30% of the world's waste. We consume 1/3 of the world's paper, 1/4 of the oil, 1/4 of the coal, 1/3 of the aluminum, 1/5 of the copper. And we generate, on average per person, 4.9 pounds of trash per day versus the global average of 1.6 pounds per day. So in Warr Acres, at the bottom line, we generate approximately, based on our 10,400 people, we generate roughly 51,000 pounds of trash a day, 360,000 pounds a week, or what's that one there? Almost 19 million pounds yearly. So I think the charge of the cart, to answer your question, I think the base fee, you know, I'm seeing in my mind, we used to have, based on the water usage, we would charge a lower sewer rate, because if you used under 2,000 gallons or whatever, I forgot what the threshold, or 25, we would charge less for the, you know, the single family resident. And if you reached over 5,000, you'd be charged more, and that's how we would charge the garbage rate. We would amortize that to that number for people that don't use the garbage service as much. And then the third can would probably be more than the second can, because obviously you're filling the second can and the third can, so it might be $6 or $7 a month more for that second can, or $8 or $10, whatever the number we come up with.
Yeah, I'm gonna say
makes
my parents live in Oklahoma City, and they have these same carts. There's 5 people in their household, and they have 2 carts, and they have a recyclable cart, because they also recycle in big greens, and they do curbside for that. But they only have once a week, and they never have it where it's spilling out on the sides and everything. I go over there and take their garbage to the street every Sunday, because theirs comes on Monday. But if you have more than 5 people, you might need more than 2 carts, but for most of us, it's probably just gonna need 1 cart, maybe 2. And then, you know, I think we're just gonna talk about, you know, we need to decide if this is the route we wanna go, and then we could always later on discuss how much it's gonna be, and then maybe form a subcommittee that's made up of a couple people along with Mike, and you guys can hash out what we need to be charging, if it's gonna be a base rate, or if it's gonna be a discount for a second cart, or what it's gonna be. But I think we need to just, because the Thunder started at 7:30, we need to get going.
Yeah.
But I mean, we just need to decide, is this the route we need to go, or do we need to not go it and keep with what we have? But just know if we go the way that it is now, we're losing money on what it is we're doing right now. So,
We're breaking even at the $36, so we're,
New increase.
With the new increase.
well, with the current way we're doing the business, it's roughly 32. Might
if
be a little-
nothing breaks down and we don't need new trucks or anything like that.
Right.
So, right.
Well, that's actually figured in that rate. I'm figuring out, excuse me, I have figured a depreciation amount yearly that each truck we're utilizing the life out of that truck each year. So I'm planning on a recovery cost at some point for that truck. So that's included in the rate. So it's including your utility billing costs, it's including your postage, it's including your city hall staff that processes the bills, it takes the phone calls, you got part of it, the payroll. So I figured out per employees, of course, what amount that she would contribute towards the payroll. So I've tried to include building costs, phones, everything that's associated with the trash service.
I got one question here.
Yes, sir.
When would be the start date to use that truck if we approve this?
My understanding is, it's what, Chris, about 2 months for carts, roughly?
6 to 8 weeks to get the carts once they're ordered.
In the truck?
Install the tippers on the rear loads, that's another 2 to 3 weeks.
So we could say 90 days would be a good,
Right.
nice.
And I didn't have, I gave you the general cost here. I didn't actually get the contract, the actual details. Where's Matt at? Oh, he's outside. It'd be similar to the police cars, the lease purchase, if you decide to go that way. So we'd have to work out the exact numbers. It should be a little bit lower than this because I use a 6% interest rate on this to come up with that number. I think the number's a little lower.
Yeah, it's 4.
So it's going to be it gives you an idea of what it's going to be. So if you decide to move forward, we could actually get all the paperwork together next month, and then you could the attorney can look through the paperwork and decide or we could discuss the ordinance. That might be another great step, is to discuss the ordinance, address the handicap, address her concerns with the extra cart billing and things like that.
I have one more question while you're here. So,
Amazingly, nobody's interrupting anybody. It's just me. When I speak, everybody jumps in.
was I interrupting you?
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I didn't think I was. Did I?
No,
Up
not
to
you,
you?
not you, not you.
I have a question as far as I know Edmond, they have to bag their stuff before it goes in the poly cart. When you have trash dumped in there, are you getting stuff blowing out? Is there much?
Normally, no. Will there occasionally be something? It's possible, in Oklahoma, how the wind blows, and if it catches it just perfect, it's possible. But not a lot, no.
Okay.
I mean, you shouldn't see a whole lot, but
Just while you were here, I wanted to ask that question. 'Cause
what you would see if the wind caught it just right, like you can see where the cart goes into there, is like a Walmart bag. That light, that's what you could potentially see coming out of that truck potentially.
Okay.
But you're not gonna see it very often.
Okay.
And Chris drove all the way, went up to Tulsa and got the truck and drove it here. If you want to see it operate, we could, there's only a couple items left here. Maybe you could go out in the parking lot and you could demonstrate the arm to kind of get
I mean, I've seen it where, is it different than the trucks that Oklahoma City operates?
No. It's
Okay.
like Edmund.
I don't see a lot of
Edmund,
stuff blow
Moore,
out in theirs,
all
but,
it's
Yes.
the exact same
And-
truck.
Okay.
The only difference is, some of the cities may have a different chassis than that Mack
Right.
chassis. That's about the
Yeah,
only difference.
and Edmund has a nice little video clip on that question that you asked about. It says, be a good citizen, bag your trash, and they show them bagging it, putting it in there. I think we all have enough things to do and going through the trash cans to try to determine if they bagged it or not bagged it, which could be problematic. They're supposed to bag the trash now, which a lot of people don't, which it contributes to a lot of the blowing trash. And how do you police that? You give them a fine?
Well, you were touching on that, some cities do, like Mike was saying, may have them bag it. I'll tell you, most cities don't. Because it's too hard to enforce. Going around making sure people have bagged their trash, put it in there. But what most cities like to preach is if you do bag it, you keep your can clean, so it doesn't get to start stinking and everything like that. But I know this is not my place, but I think this conversation is very interesting because I've been through it, and every city that looks to go to automated service goes through this exact same conversation, and where they're trying to figure out, A, B, C, D, E, and F, how it all looks. And what I would tell you guys, every city's is a little bit different how they outline it for them. But as I was telling Mike, you don't have to reinvent the wheel because everyone around you's done it. So it's taking pieces from them and then kind of seeing what fits your city the best. And if Mike needs any information on ordinances, flyers, and how other cities have went about communicating with the public, I'd be happy to send that to him, because everyone has it. And I think if he reached out to anyone around, everyone is very helpful to try to help other cities with automation. So thank you.
thank you for coming all the way down, and That couldn't have been fun driving it down the highway.
I actually enjoy it, it is kind of.
If
Except for all the
anybody wants to go look at it.
All right.
I'd like to make a motion
Okay.
that we approve the use of the automated loader, item number 7.
Second.
Morris,
Yay.
Mossway,
No.
Worley,
Yay.
Fairchild,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yay.
Evans,
Yes.
Douglas,
Yes.
motion passed.
Now, I know we mixed 7 and 8 up. Item 8, that was about the poly cards.
I think that's fine. I think we would, Matt, we would keep, if they apparently.
Did have a
just-
question on the poly cards. I don't think if everybody's gonna get extra cards, that's gonna be enough.
It will.
The 4,200 or whatever that is?
100.
500, that's the industry number they come up with that they typically,
45.
The industry has a standard in the cart world, you know, and that they use by the number of residential households. Now, I'm not saying it's perfect by no means, but when you go initially and start ordering carts, they've kind of figured out by the number of households, how many they believe will get a second cart. But like I said, it's not perfect by no means, but we truly believe this will definitely be a great start, and, you know, you should have plenty for your initial move. Now, with carts, you always got to anticipate probably budgeting some for every year, you know, as they get damaged.
Yeah.
Are they going to be coded for each household? They have their own number and.
They will
it
have a
says
serial number
serial
on there.
number.
They will have the Warr Acres logo on them. We haven't discussed, I don't know if you have a color, but that you guys use. It can be a certain color, the body, you know.
The whole cart?
the whole-
Orange.
yeah.
No.
Orange and black.
So, before we order, we'll need the Warr Acres logo, we'll need what color you want the body, like the one sitting in the parking lot, which is not a 95-gallon cart like what you got, that's just a 65, but I borrowed it from the city of Stillwater, they let me bring it over here.
And each will have their own serial number, I suppose?
Yep.
Okay.
And what some cities do with that, and it just depends on, and, some people
Also
use,
uses
they
the,
use that serial number to
address.
track it to
Yeah.
where it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
But with that becomes a lot of work, because that's the way we did it in Stillwater. So basically, we have one individual there that's what they do every day. They deliver, exchange carts, and they make sure all the carts are where they're supposed to be, you know? Because you'll have some situations where a neighbor's gonna call up and say their neighbor has their cart, right? And then you gotta go out there and fix that, and if you have those serial numbers. Now, I will say more cities than not don't mess with it, because it is a lot of labor to deal with that and keep up with it.
Right.
There'd be more cities that don't than they do.
I think that's something Mike can do, though.
No, no, no.
For yourself?
I didn't wanna put him in a bind. Most cities do not mess with it, though.
I have a question.
Are the poly carts made of recycled plastics, or are they doing new plastics?
You know, most of the cart vendors used to do that. The ones that you guys will be getting, Sierra, they do not. They do full, you know,
Virgin material.
virgin material. And the reason they did that is just because the recycling material costs got so high that now it would increase your cart cost so much. Most of them have gotten away from it, not all of them. There are some still using some recycled material on their carts, but it's just the recycling, the cost got too high. It was getting
Yeah.
out of control.
And to answer your question on the carts, we're lucky to have Mr. Bacon came from Bethany, and he actually got them into the side loading program and cart tippers, and he said they wound up ordering too many carts, and he had a picture, and they were all stacked in the yard. There was hundreds and hundreds, and, you know, the water will eventually,
Yeah.
there's always a groove or something. So you don't want too many, you know, obviously you want enough, so we could always adjust and order.
Guess you're right, I get a good starting point.
Yeah, I
At
mean-
least if you need more, you'll know,
You
and then we
can,
can.
you'll know pretty
we get
quick,
'em.
and you can get some more ordered and move forward.
I have a question. Council probably, or the director. Will the citizens be allowed to personalize their carts? Like some people spray paint their number on it. Will that be allowed, or,
Would that be up to the city?
Only if
or will it
it's-
be called vandalism?
Only if it's a OU logo.
Or Thunder.
They can do Thunder, OU.
Like, I live in a cul-de-sac, and we're all kind of close with all our trash day stuff. I have the oldest trash cans in the neighborhood, probably in the whole town. They were original to 1960. They live through the wind.
Still water, the college kids like to do that, but you probably don't want what they put on there.
I don't know if, it- you know, obviously if it was, somebody complained about it, if it was
Okay.
obscene or,
Well,
I
if
think
they just
Kit-
put their
Kit
house number
will.
on,
Kit will.
no one would object, right?
I'll let Kit,
I'm
if
not
he
gonna
wants to.
object.
You wanna make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Um,
What I'm making, to,
So Matt, just to clarify on this, we didn't have the contract ready, the exact loan papers for the truck and the carts. So we could bring that back with the appropriate paperwork, the actual paperwork, and then the lease agreement and all that for you to go over and clarify. Would that be the proper way to do that?
Yeah.
So this was just basically to determine if you wanted to move forward, if you wanted to stay with it, if you wanted to go outsourcing, or if you actually wanted to embrace mechanizing and doing this system in-house. So this is just kind of the first step, so.
I'd like to make a motion that we authorize item 8 to purchase the 4,563 95-gallon carts.
Second it.
Morris,
Yay.
Musgrave,
yes.
Worley,
Yay.
Fairchild,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yay.
Evans,
Yes.
Douglas,
Yes.
motion passed.
I'll make a motion that we approve number 9 to get the tippers,
Yeah, it's, we,
part of it.
as part of
Second it.
it.
Part of it.
Yeah.
Morris,
Yay.
Musgrave,
Yes.
Worley,
Yay.
Fairchild,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Can we discuss it a little bit?
It's not.
Yay.
Thunder.
Yes.
Douglas,
Yes.
motion passed.
We have people here that weren't here earlier. We bring her, Mary
Yep.
Bradford,
You're the mayor.
from the Small Business Administration, is here for Javier.
First of all, I want to apologize for not being here earlier. The flip side to that is I get to bring you some additional good news. First of all, I don't know if you're familiar with SBA's Office of Disaster Recovery and Resilience. But if you get a presidential declaration that everybody hears about, right? SBA is an automatic partner with them. People don't realize that SBA's disaster assistance is actually the largest source of recovery dollars, federal recovery dollars, more so than FEMA. Because we do the long-term for homeowners, renters, businesses, private nonprofits, and for small businesses, whether they had damage or not, they have options for operational loans. Now, if you don't reach the threshold for a FEMA or presidential declaration, SBA can make its own disaster declaration. And that's what we did in relationship to the November 2024 tornadoes. So all of Oklahoma County, including where Warr Acres, can't talk, and you'd think I'd know. I'm I'm the only public affairs, public information officers from Oklahoma. So anyway, we have provided, and you can see it up there, some detailed information for what insurance and other sources do not cover. We can help with low-interest, affordable loans to help build back completely to where they were. Get down to the wire, and maybe insurance doesn't cover everything. Or if you want to build it back more resiliently to avoid future storms of any kind or any natural disaster, that could be an earthquake. We have a program for that to potentially add up to 20% more onto the loan to cover that. And economically, for every dollar spent on mitigation or building back stronger, it saves $6 in the long run. And that's over and above lives, memories, emotions, those kinds of things. So if you know anybody who had damage due to those November storms, or small businesses in your community that were harmed economically, even if they did not have any physical damage, then they're eligible for these loans. Now, which brings me to the new and the next strand. As I was trying to get in the car to drive here, we made another disaster declaration, SBA agency declaration, for the wildfires. And if you saw me in the back on my phone texting, that's because we're still working out the details. But that means for this disaster, for the November storms, as well as for the wildfires, the same applies. And we will have, starting tomorrow afternoon, a disaster loan outreach center in Guthrie, one in Stillwater, and then one in Lincoln County, and we will be opening more. So your citizens can go access our customer service representatives for any of the declared disasters there, and our job is to help you get back to where you were and to survive. And if you
Yeah.
have any questions, and I have some materials for you.
Chief Coys knows about that. We had problems with the wildfires that day. It was bad. So there might be some citizens that want help.
Great, send them our way. I'm gonna give you my card because I don't have the printed materials yet. Like I said, they just did this. And so I'll give you my cards, these pieces of information, and we'll go from there. And if I can get some business cards, I will follow up with electronic versions. And it is Oklahoma, it's not if, but when. SBA is going to be here with their disaster assistance. So thank you again for having me and for listening to my explanation. Don't hesitate to call if you have questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. The librarian is here. We skipped her too, so.
Good evening. I also apologize for my lateness, my tardiness. I don't have a whole lot, but I did want to just bring up a few things that are going on in the month of May at the library. And Debbie, you may have heard some of this the other day at the commission meeting, but I'm gonna give it to you again. So in the month of May, of course, it's Memorial Day this month, so we have what we call a missing man table. It is just basically a display in the middle of the library that honors all the prisoners of war and MIAs as educational materials for children and adults to kind of take away, just to give history of kind of why we celebrate Memorial Day, and also, of course, giving honor to those who have given us of their service. So come by and see that if you haven't had a chance, or tell people. That has been up since the 1st of May, will be up through May 31st. We're closed on Memorial Day and the Sunday before, so we keep it up all month so that people can still enjoy it, although we're not open on the actual holiday. Also, May is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, so AAPI month. So a couple of Saturdays ago on May 10th, we had Tiger Jung's World Class Taekwondo came out and did Taekwondo demonstration and workshop. It was for children. We had about 28 parents that came out that day. I think it was actually rainy that day, but about 28 came out for that. We're kind of trying to do a whole month of those types of things. This past Saturday, we had 2 events. We had the GQ Lion Dancers, which is a Japanese-based lion dance group that came out and did a lion dance at the library at 11 o'clock. We had about 80 people that came out for that. And we had the Babel Coffee and Boba Tea Bar truck that also came out and sold boba that day. And then we also had a story time that morning that celebrated the Year of the Snake at 9:30. And then, of course, the big thing that we're doing this month, we have summer reading kickoff. So summer reading officially starts on June 1st, but our kickoff is going to be on Saturday, May 31st at Warr Acres from 2 to 4. Our theme this year is Color Your World, so it's basically about art. So we will have face painting, we're going to have an ice cream truck out there, a popcorn company that sells actual authentic Chicago-style Windy City popcorn. They're going to come out. We're going to have all kinds of activities indoors and outdoors, again, from 2 to 4. So we are excited about that. And then just some of the programs we offer regularly. We have a STEM club that meets the second Thursday and Saturday for ages 9 to 14 that does all kinds of hands-on science activities, all free, of course. We have 2 creative writing groups, one that meets on Sunday afternoons from 3 to 5, and again on Wednesdays from 5:30 to 7:30. That is a church night, but some people do still come out if they can't make it on Sunday afternoon. And then we have what we call a low-key book club, which is a book club for adults. Basically, no meetings, no book club, really. Just come in, pick up a box. It has some goodies, has a book, you read it. There's an online discussion, and then you return the book and get a new book the next month. And then lastly, we have what we call Pages and Prose Parcel, which is a monthly book subscription for kids ages 8 to 12. Also has candies and goodies, books, 3 or 4 books that they get to kind of choose the subject. We select them, put them in a nice box. They pick them up, read them, and then return them the next month for a new box. So those are some of the things going on. Of course, we do still have meeting rooms, $10 an hour that we have activities literally going on every day, almost for the entire month of June and July, every Friday at 3 o'clock, a neighborhood arts performance with our partnership with the Oklahoma Museum of Art sends out performers, so that will be going on as well, beginning the first Friday in June. Any questions?
Woohoo!
Yeah, I
A
know.
lot
I was trying to keep
going
it
on.
short, because I know
So,
it's getting
so I had a
late.
question. So, like,
Yes.
you guys, do you have a Facebook page?
We do. We have a Facebook page. It's metrolibrary.org. It's specific to the entire library system, but if you go in and actually search Warr Acres Library, then our specific events and calendar of events also
All right,
show.
well, why I'm saying that is because I need to see if somehow, since the mayor updates the Warr Acres page, if somehow you can connect
Coordinate
it to
getting this
the library.
information.
Because
the
a lot of people don't know the library page.
They could
You know,
tag each other.
I typed in Warr
Yeah.
Acres Library and I got to it, but some people don't, and then
Sure.
they don't know, like, I noticed there was like a shaved ice truck out the other
Yes,
day.
that-
I didn't know what that
yes,
was.
That
going on.
actually was not a library event. There's a teacher at Rollingwood Elementary who came to us a few weeks ago. One of her students lost their parent unexpectedly, and the family was unable to provide funeral services because of the cost. So they came and asked if they could utilize the library to park the truck, because we are a community hub. We're in the center of the city, and asked if they could park there to kind of bring some attraction in. We were already doing kind of all of the other things,
Right.
and so we allowed them to come and park that afternoon just to make some money. So that wasn't an actual event of ours, we just gave them the space
Right.
essentially. And we went out and supported by purchasing from, it was Kona Ice that was actually out. Yeah,
I'm just
that
saying,
was-
because you guys are always doing something, and like what Councilman Evans said a
Yeah.
couple of months ago, like, that's like our community center, and we should be
Yes.
pushing it. So I'm trying to
Yes,
see how to
yes.
get more
Right.
people seeing it,
Right.
so.
I mean, we have like an internal calendar that I could, I could coordinate to get that to you, that I could just scan in and either even email it, I guess, or,
Yeah.
and then some kind of way we could get
Or
that posted
Crystal
somewhere.
might know this. When's the deadline for the newsletters?
Fifth,
The first Friday of the month.
First Friday of the month, okay, I'm gonna write that here.
So if you had something you really wanted to put in there about the library,
Okay,
that'd probably be good.
We
perfect.
need to get like June's stuff in.
Like, quick, like by next,
But they don't get it till the middle of the month, so if you give
Right.
me something that's gonna happen on June 5th, they're not gonna hear about it till June 15th.
They get it
Right.
with their utility bill.
right, so we would do, yeah, because we have the same type of deadlines with the library, so, okay. Okay, well, that's all the information I have. Does anyone else have any questions? And I appreciate you all adding me to the agenda. I saw that I was listed as part of the reports. I'll do my best to try to get here sooner. I had staff meetings until 6 o'clock today, so I rushed over as soon as I was done. So I appreciate the time and the opportunity.
Thank you, Keisha.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's something we probably should have been doing a long time ago. And we just haven't been doing it.
Agreed. Go libraries.
Yes.
Okay, our next is Chief Anderson, discussion and possible action to send Captain Peters and Corporal Bowen to Littleton, Colorado to train June 15th and 19th at a cost of $2,291.72.
Included in your packet was the request where Captain Peters gave an itemized issue as to one of the focuses that we've tried to focus on is the training and instruction to our officers, because as he articulates in the request to my office, doing so helps us greatly in not only dealing with the citizens, but being professional, but at the same time being able to lower some of our liable risk that we have. I think out of everything that I could add to this is the class itself not only will certify these two as instructors so they can come back and teach that to the rest of our officers. It is a cost that instead of having individual officers go and to these classes, we can get the trainer here. This is the only time in this year that this is being offered. It also includes the other 3 classes, which are the advanced classes of search and seizure, traffic stops, and criminal investigations with it. But I think more than anything else, in the quote that he gave from Judge Lumpkins, who made it really clear in his opinion of what the message of the decision in Bertram was, is that the result of this case could have been avoided if the troopers involved had been advised of the court's decision in Stewart. Law enforcement agencies and officials have a duty to educate their officers on proper law enforcement procedure, to follow and complying with the law, and that is the message of the decision. I think Judge was very clear in stating what his message is. Along the same line, that's ultimately our goal where we want to do it. The reason this goes before you is this is already calculated into the budget. It is part of the budget, but because it is out of state, it has to go through the council's approval. Any questions?
I don't have any questions. I got a comment, though. I think it's a great thing. I usually, when I saw your deal, I looked up some stuff, and that is the biggest liability for cities, is when the police force violates Fourth Amendment rights, and we're talking about legal search and seizure as well as excessive force. Those are one of the biggest costs for most municipalities in the United States.
I think attorney could probably even speak better at that, especially from his prior position rather than here. But yes, it is. Nationwide, it is probably the largest cost of a city.
Yeah, you're going to be getting about a 25 to 35% increase in your insurance rates after about a 18% increase, and it's all police driven.
Wow. Will this help with our insurance for the city? If having the
Having good claims will
yeah.
help.
Okay.
Yeah, the less claims we have, and that goes
Yeah.
outside of our own city, but the less times that we need the insurance company to stand behind us, the cheaper our rates go.
To be clear, there's a lot that are just willful misconduct. I literally just got a text message from one of the OMAG defense attorneys on 2 files I handled while I was there that the officer finally got charged on. That I was, one of them 6 years old and was a sexual assault.
Yeah.
Couldn't believe he hadn't gotten charged, but the Rogers County DA just filed the rape charge.
Wow.
Wow.
And then he got hired and committed another civil rights violation because that agency didn't do a background check.
Oh, my God.
But that one was
That
just
was
simple
the-
assault and battery. But yeah, it's a huge deal. And I mean, to these guys' credits, I mean, Jason and I had a conversation today that, it just goes to routine police work that these are working cops who don't have the time to sit there and study Fourth Amendment case law.
Yeah.
I have that time, but, later this week, I'm going to be presenting at the Chiefs Conference on 2 pretty nuanced topics that the way I always, start those presentations is you're charged, the courts assume you know all the case law I'm going to talk to you about, and yet what we'll be talking about are cases that have come down over the last 5 to 10 years that a lot of them will be learning for the first
And
time.
didn't they just recently increase where the curtilage of the home was, too?
I
Just
wish
recently,
they-
in the last year or two, I
I
think.
wish they would give a clear definition of the curtilage,
Yeah.
but there is no clear test. It'd be wonderful if there was. It'd be wonderful if I could say it's 5 feet, 3 feet, 10
Yep.
feet. But it's not. It's the area immediately surrounding the home that's associated with the intimate activity of the home. But the main key is that our cops know they can't enter the curtilage of the home to seek information, or that is considered to be a search, unless it is along the normal pathway to the front door, Florida versus Jardines.
Well, when I was looking up stuff on this, when I saw you got your deal, I started looking up stuff on it. I saw all kinds of stuff on knock and talk and all that stuff, and what the normal things was for that. Like, hey, anything like a Girl Scout could do to knock on your door for cookies. A police officer could do. Any normal citizen could do.
Florida
kind of
versus
thing.
Jardines, but they don't, your implied consent to anybody to come knock up on your
Yep.
door doesn't include a bloodhound, as Justice Scalia put it.
Though some of the council might be new, to include yourself, Councilman, training for an officer, we estimate from the time that a person's hired, if they're not already certified, as a year in training before they're ever out on the streets, that we see a relief to a schedule. Along with that, though, there's a reason they call it the basic academy, because that's when your career starts, that's when the educational starts. One of the things that I have seen multiple times is in deciding cases, and I read a lot of the cases, not nearly as much as Matt, but one of the issues they said is, did the officer know, or should the officer have known? Because if they should have, it's irrelevant if they did or did not. They're going to be held to that standard. So then it becomes imperative that the city, to cover itself more than almost anything, that we have done due diligence in making sure the officers are trained, so that we can fall back in the fact that we have trained them to do this. So yes, the officers should have known, and the officers did know.
I'll piggyback on that just to say that CLEAT does the level best that it can in educating brand-new cops. I think if you got them in an honest moment, they would admit that their search and seizure curriculum is woefully out of date. And they're teaching things that are not compliant with the Fourth Amendment. So cops are being trained at initial training the wrong way. And it's these guys' jobs to fix it when they get back.
And if you're unaware of it, the legal, unless it has changed recently, the legal block was 40 hours. So that's the amount of training a new officer would get coming out of the academy, is 40 hours, to where you have people that have spent careers studying these same decisions. So
I'd like to make a motion to approve sending Captain Peters and Corporal Bowen to the training June 15th through the 19th.
I'll second.
Morris?
Yay.
Mosley?
Yes.
Worley?
Yes.
Fairchild?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yay.
Evans?
Yes.
Douglas?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, we have one more item here. Discussion and possible action on an ordinance amending 3.07.030B, increasing the administration fee charged to recover the cost of terminating the delinquent utility accounts, and that would be Matt and Judy.
So I think all of y'all are aware that when we do cut off for people who haven't paid their sewer, that it costs us money to pay for the attorney fees, to pay Oklahoma City to cut off the water, and that's coming out of our general fund, and we need to try and recoup that, and that's what this ordinance does, is just an effort to recoup that money, that when they come in and pay their bill off, that they're going to be charged for what it cost us to serve them.
Okay, so the person that we're filing with Oklahoma City will be paying that fee.
Say that again?
The person that we're sending the information to Oklahoma City to cut their water off, they'll pay the fee.
Yes.
Well,
The-
they'll be
the
charged.
Pay the
The
cost.
resident,
They'll be charged a fee.
the
Okay,
resident.
they'll be
Yeah.
charged the cost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting the money is.
But
No.
at least they're still not gonna have
Yeah.
the water until they do pay it.
The only thing I'll add to this is when we first drafted these ordinances, we had to put the cart before the horse, because the Reader's Digest version, we ran into this problem, and Mike's not here, but I mean, we're going back 10, 15 years ago, that we can't cut off sewer if there's still water going into the house. Oklahoma City wanted to help us out, but they didn't feel they had authority to cut people's water off if they were paying them. So it took several years. We got legislation enacted that gave Oklahoma City the permissive authority, it wasn't required, but the ability to cut people off. They made us adopt ordinances that they felt would satisfy the due process they wanted to feel comfortable that they could cut off the water. When we had drafted those ordinances, we threw a dartboard as to what the cost to the city would be in pursuing the termination process. We actually we weren't the first ones to go through that. We had the Bethany Warr Acres Public Works Authority frankly do the legwork for us on actually working out the mechanics of the process, and then we jumped on board with it. We just never got around to updating our costs once that process got implemented. So this is catching the ordinance up with what the actual process costs are.
And is there any grace period? Like
The fees would apply at the point that we incur the cost. So the grace period, I mean, I hate to say it this way because it's going to sound heartless, but the grace period is that you've been getting a bill every single month and not paying it. Once we have to go through the process, and Oklahoma City is very rigid on how they want us to make sure that we gave notice. And so part of this is there's a differential cost. We're going to try and mail it to you by certified mail, but if you won't pick that up, then there's going to be an added cost because they want process server service to ensure that any argument about notice is taken care of. So there's going to be plenty of advance notice that there's an issue before you would incur these costs.
So I would assume those that have already gotten letters that are out there, it's not included in the letter, and I think at this point, if this passes, then Crystal will update the letter that goes out so that they're notified that on top of what they owe us, they're gonna be charged this.
Yeah, and the only thing I would say to that is this is all set by your local laws. I didn't know how expensive a speeding ticket was. Well, you knew that you had an obligation in that case, not to do something, and you can look at the law to see what the cost is if you don't fulfill society's obligations, which in this case, this is an obligation, is to pay your bill. And the fees are all going to be published online. But yeah, I'm assuming that we'll put it in there, but it's not required to be in there.
Okay.
Okay, so my question, like these 3 that paid ahead of time, but did all this legwork, are we still giving them a partial bill for what her hourly rate was to do all this legwork and get all this stuff processed?
So the existing cost that was in the ordinance, I think it was $50, didn't go away. This got added on top. So the added cost of having to do the certified mail and have the attorney fees is being added on top of that as an additional 50. So it goes to 100. And then, what was it, Judy? Another 100 if it's the
135 if we had to serve.
if it's personal service, which we only incur if we mail it out and they didn't pick it up.
So what we're not
So we're still
recouping at
getting
this
the
point
$50.
is her time.
Well, we've still got the $50 that was always in the
Oh,
ordinance.
okay.
This is going to be on top of that because all we were trying to calculate at that point, frankly, at that point in time, if I'm being really blunt, we didn't think Oklahoma City was going to make us hire attorneys and have attorneys go through certified mail and then hire process servers. So we were already charging $50 just to account for what we thought would be us preparing all the paperwork and sending it out by regular mail. That cost is, that fee is still going to be in there.
So that was one of my things was it says increasing administrative fees. So we already charged one already?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're just increasing it.
So it's currently 50?
Yes.
And then it's gonna
Currently
go up to
50.
135 if they have to have a process server?
It's going to go up, I think, to 100 it's going to go up, I believe, to 100. It was $50, right, Judy, on the attorney plus the.
Yeah, to recoup the
So,
attorney.
so the existing fee is going to go from 50 to 100, so an extra 50. If you don't pick up your certified mailing, another 135 gets charged on top of it, and it's not, and one thing I want to make clear about this is not to try and balance the budget. This is not to try and generate a profit. This is just,
Recouping costs.
if you didn't want to charge this, we would continue the status quo, which is that everybody else and the taxpayers would pay the city's cost it is actually incurring to go try and recover the debt.
Okay.
As opposed to the logic behind this is we're only incurring that cost because of one person choosing not to pay the bill and choosing not to come in and try and make arrangements. Should the taxpayers have to subsidize that, or should the taxpayer money be available for everything else we do for the community, and the cost of this be paid by the person who's causing us to incur the cost?
Yes.
So-
My kind of logic here is like, well, if they already can't pay the bill, how do they pay the extra cost?
Yeah, are we gonna notify, I mean, will that'll be spelled
know?
out, obviously?
Be another certified.
Let me address your concern by asking Crystal a question. How many people have we terminated and never turned it back on versus how many people do we go through this process and then they end up paying us?
I have 3 accounts
but everybody else has been able to come in.
Come in and paid and.
And paid the extra $50 fee.
And keep in
okay.
mind, when you don't pay, before we go through termination, there's also a late fee that's attached to the bill. Was it 10%?
Okay.
And so when they're getting reestablished, they're paying the actual bill, they're paying the 10% late fee, they're paying right now the $50 fee if we had to go through this process. So there have been, what I'm hearing, 3 accounts that have not yet been able to repay the city.
They're living in
Everybody
their
else
house
repaid the
without
city.
Okay.
And sewer.
As far as I know, there's no active water account on it, so yes.
Wow.
So, but still go
Yeah,
back to my question. So these 3 people that came in and paid, what's their fee gonna be?
If we had to, well, we did send out the mailing, so their fee,
$50 admin fee for the 3 people that paid.
their fee would have been 50. If this had been passed before we started that process, it would have been 100.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
So they're grandfathered in.
Some of them would have been the more, because they've passed before the process.
Yeah, the courts don't like when you apply laws retroactively
Yeah.
To people.
Right, I understand that, but
Yeah.
I'm saying if this if this ordinance was changed,
If it had been
and
in
the
effect,
people
it would have been
paid,
100.
some people didn't pay, so they get theirs cut out, but some people did pay, but you still had to process a bunch of stuff, so there should still be a fee
Yeah,
involved.
at the point we trigger that notice process,
Okay,
currently it's 50, we attach $50, now it would go to $100.
that's all I need to know.
So my other question would be, is there any other way to recover that cost? No. Okay.
So we've tried so many different ways to try to get people to pay their bills. I mean, there's really, I don't know what else to do.
Yeah, I just, the only thing with me is, is I'm thinking people can't pay their bill, we're gonna stack way more onto them that they can't pay. That was kind of where my thinking was. But Matt really answered that by answering Debbie's
asking her the
question about
question.
how many you don't and do, and so that's like, okay, well then, they do. So they come up with a way if they really want it on, I guess.
And once they know they're gonna get charged
Yeah.
more, they
Maybe they'll
won't
get a
hopefully drag their feet.
There's been one account holder here that's a commercial account holder that my entire 15 years here, and probably before me, has never gone to termination, but has routinely paid you 10% more than what they would normally owe because they never pay on time.
I
Yeah.
don't pay on time.
And so, in one respect, we could look at it as thank you, because they're paying 10% above what they normally
Yeah.
would be paying, because they are choosing not to pay and to send a letter every month telling us they think our fees are ridiculous. And then they come in and pay the 10% extra. And it's been going on for 15 years. I would get an email every month, okay, we've set the termination hearing. Never mind, they came in and paid every month like clockwork. Or I guess every quarter.
Okay.
I stopped putting it on my calendar because it was never going to happen.
They don't, they pay
They find a way to come
So
up with it.
did Matt answer your questions enough for you to make a motion?
You're done.
I wonder.
No.
No.
I'll make a motion that we approve the administrative fee increase on item number 11.
I was trying to get others involved, John, but I appreciate your
I'm
move.
not
I'll second
voting on
that.
it. They can get on the stick or get off.
Morris,
You made me snort.
Worley,
Yay.
I'm gonna be a no.
Myers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
I'll say no.
Because I didn't have
Yes.
enough information. That's all.
Yes,
I like more.
and also we have the approval of the emergency clause that's attached to that as well.
Do we have to vote on it separately?
Yes, you do.
Yes.
And I would just remind our two nay votes
Yes.
that the law has already passed
Yeah, yes.
without incurring the extra cost to
Right.
the city of publishing it
I-
in full or just publishing the
Right.
title.
I didn't want him to be alone. So.
That was so nice.
I'll
of
make
you.
a motion to approve the emergency clause.
Second it.
Morris,
Yay.
Lossaway,
Yes.
Worley,
Yay.
Fairchild,
Yeah.
Myers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
No.
Evans,
Yes.
Douglas,
Yes.
motion passed.
Okay. We have questions and comments from the council.
I do. Let's see. First,
Let's not be a Thunder fan.
I do too, don't skip me.
Thunder,
can
who's that? What?
can
What's going on?
DVR
Nah,
it.
man, basketball? No, that's not me. Okay. Cherokee Hills, the HOA got a hold of me. I guess they said something about a street sign. They would like to see it Cheyenne Road and Hidden Trail. They said there's no street sign there.
Yeah, there's no street sign.
So they would like to have one if that's possible.
That's a Terman issue.
He's just gone.
Like,
I think he's outside still.
The other thing is, hey, yeah, again, the use tax, put your full, I'm gonna say it every meeting. Hey, I love that it's in the, I love that we have it in there. I'd like to see maybe just shorter, not a big paragraph, because, people kind of get lost, but maybe just a couple of lines, but see it in there every time. I love it. Thank you so much. I love that. I'd like to see something with the Airbnbs, something that we could do something about regulating them. Of course, I'm gonna say that probably every month till we actually do something too. Get it on the hotel tax, maybe get them to, ADA compliance if we gotta do that or anything else. Health inspections. The other thing was the speed bumps again, I'm probably gonna mention that until we do something. 72nd place, and the ones on like 67th and
A
68th.
citizen asked me about that, and I told her to bring it up at a city council meeting, which now I find out the public forum thing doesn't work, so we'll have to go to the
No,
traffic
we
commission.
can change that.
Huh?
You have the power to change that.
Well, I'd like
Yep.
to change it, okay.
Well, Matt can
And,
write it up for you.
I had something whenever we were here last Wednesday, I got to talk with, we were talking with Jim Von Thayer about being on the planning commission or something like that. If there's an opening for Ward 1 or whatever, he'd get him on something like that.
Okay, somebody else had already asked.
But I wanted to mention that if nobody had, so that was all. And that's pretty much what I have right there. Yeah, the use tax, use all 9 digits. Use all 9 digits if you're watching.
Hey, what are they?
Yeah.
What are they? Tell us. Tell us. All.
Do what?
No, I know, but he should tell everybody. So they
Tell
know.
everybody, use the 9 code digit on your zip code.
But
If
you
you're
have
in
to
Warr
say-
Acres, when you buy anything, if that's Home Depot, if it's Amazon, if it's
Online.
Walmart, anything else, use the 9-digit zip code, because that way we get the tax revenue and it doesn't go to Oklahoma City. We get it. And that helps us out a lot if you can do that.
Your house.
Right, has to be delivered to your house.
Delivered to
Yeah,
your
if you have it
house.
delivered to your house.
If you buy it, in
Yeah.
Oklahoma City, have it delivered.
Have it delivered. Have it delivered. Yeah, if you order anything from Lowe's or Home Depot, 9-digit zip code, have it delivered. There you go.
Zip+4.
Playing through the camera.
.com.
I'm done.
Something like-
So can I go?
Yeah.
So I wanted to thank April Worley. She came out to recycle just to see what we did, and she wound up getting roped in and worked the entire shift.
It was really
for
fun,
us. So
actually.
Thank you for that. So most of you probably read in your packet that we were not chosen for a Route 66 grant sign. So we have to decide as a group whether we want to resubmit, which ultimately would put it, if we did pass, it would be in January or February before it was awarded. So we're already in the anniversary at that time. So whether we want to try and do something with Oklahoma City and split it, whether we want to do our own, we need to decide that, how we want to do that. And then lastly, Oklahoma City is out all week on Northwest Expressway from Classen to Council. And as they say, watch your speed, get off your phone, and buckle up. That's all.
Okay, Schmidt?
Okay, we're just gonna go this way. I was late getting my economic development agenda items in because Pam posted it like at 10. I thought I had till noon and it came out at 10. So she said, instead of redoing it and having an amended one, I just said, she said I'd talk about it in my comments. So from the last meeting, especially from Chief Coy, all the items that everybody gave me, all the feedback, I went ahead and first on the brochure, I called Brad Trainer, who is the vice president of First Fidelity Bank, and he said, whatever we decide on the brochure, I'll try to have next meeting have something put together. Judy's kind of thinking maybe a folder that we could put papers into, so we could change it out so it would stay current instead of having to
That's a good
reprint it
idea.
every time. But I'll try to have something at the next meeting. He said they'll sponsor it 100%. That's what they did in the past. So
Hey.
I would just have to find a printer. I want to try to find a printer that's in Warr Acres, so it's all staying in the community. I contacted these businesses. Kroger, we were talking about maybe having like an outlet, or when I went and read their websites, they're talking about starting to try to have little grocery stores, like neighborhood grocery stores. So I contacted them. I haven't heard back from any of these, but I've sent emails to all of them. Cheddar's, Swig, Othello's, and I actually talked to Othello's, and they wanted to meet with us and the mayor whenever the mayor's not as crazy, so probably in the winter. But, there's only an Othello's in Edmond and in Norman, and there's no Italian restaurants really in Warr Acres at all. It's all Mexican restaurants and stuff. So they're interested in it, but they were doing the Freedom Festival. They had like an arts festival on 2nd Street the weekend that I talked to them. So I've got to call back into them. Taco Casa, it's in Yukon, and Pam sent me that saying that her kids go there all the time, and there's always a line, so that we should probably look into that. What else? So that's for right now. I contacted those 5, and it was mostly a lot of it was from Chief Coy, so I really appreciate the involvement, because I think that really helps. So I'm just going to keep it on with all that.
Thank you,
The only other thing I had as far as comments was for our attorney to congratulate him, because he is now a judge in Perry, Oklahoma, as of yesterday, right? Or the day before? June. But you got nominated and everything. So, yeah, so I wanted to congratulate him. He does a great job, and good luck to you on that.
John, you got any comments?
I don't have too much. I just wanted to see if we've ever updated our costs that we're charging for plan review, inspections, and all that.
I'm working on that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's something that, just like all our other fees, have been sitting out there at the same amount for years and years. And it's costing more, everything costs more, so we need to make sure that we're at least recouping the costs.
And I actually talked to Matt about that today, to get them taken out of the ordinances and to make it a policy, so that we don't have to make it a law and keep changing it over and over and over.
Yeah.
So that's part of that.
That was the only thing. I just wanted to make sure that was on somebody's radar.
My turn?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Does she need to?
I'll talk later.
All right. I have a couple of things. I wanted to thank Assistant Chief Jason Allen for helping with the ATV children. I think the people that called in about that were grateful. The other shout out is to police officers Lieutenant Colt Smith and Lieutenant Brian Strawn. A family wanted to let them know how grateful they are for the officers' professionalism and kindness with their family member who was having a medical episode and mental health issue. Thanks for the quick response and patience, along with the fire department and EMS. They just want to pass along kudos to those 2 officers. That's it.
I have nothing.
I did do the recycling this past at the beginning of the month, so yes, I recommend everybody go do that, because it was a great way to meet the residents in your ward. And I also love that we are including the library now, because I know when my kids were little, we utilized that a lot. It was a very safe place for them to have fun and get off their phones or tablets and all that kind of stuff, and actually read and use their imagination. So that's really all I had, so.
Okay. I know that one of our officers, Miller, his wife passed away, and she was very young, and just wanted to express my condolences on that. I wanted to thank Chief Coy and everyone, all the fire again, for helping at Roger Godwin's house. They did a phenomenal job. I was out there for 3 hours with them, and they just kept going. And if anyone wants to help, they're taking donations at the police station for Roger's family. The other thing is, I have been working, and I'm gonna get with Matt on this, where we have to come up with job descriptions now for the building inspector and the code enforcement officer and the city council. We need to get that done probably in a month. Work on the ordinances, to clean up the ordinances, because they have things the building inspector was doing that said the code enforcement officer wasn't, so we're gonna work on fixing the ordinances as well, on those, to hire both of those two people. So, that's all.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Morris,
Yay.
Amosaway,
Yes.
Worley,
Yay.
Fairchild,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Yay.
Evans,
Yes.
Douglas,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, we have a very short Public Works and Economic Development meetings. So call to order, bang, bang, bang. Declaration of quorum, yes, we have. Anybody want to talk about it, the consent docket, or bring anything up in the consent docket to?
I move we approve the consent docket.
Huh?
I move we
Okay,
approve the consent
for the
docket.
Public Works.
Yeah, for the Public Works Authority.
I'll second.
Morris,
Yay.
Amosaway,
Yes.
Worley,
Yay.
Fairchild,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yay.
Evans,
Yes.
Douglas,
Yes.
motion passed.
Okay, SRB is not here tonight. There wasn't really anything to add to our meeting the other day. So,
Motion to adjourn?
You're on fire with that.
Second it.
Morris,
Yay.
Amosaway,
Yes.
Worley,
Yay.
Fairchild,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yay.
Evans,
Yes.
Douglas,
yes. Okay. Call to order the Economic Development Authority meeting, and we have a quorum. So anybody want to say anything about the consent docket?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent dockets A and B.
Second.
Well, who's gonna adjourn then?
You.
Morris,
Yay.
Amosaway,
Yes.
Worley,
Yay.
Fairchild,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
Yay.
Evans,
Yes.
Douglas,
Yes. Okay, and anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Morris,
Yay.
Amosaway,
Yes.
Worley,
Yay.
Fairchild,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Yay.
Evans,
Yes.
Douglas,
Said Evans, you said yes? Oh. Yes.
Both under.
Not Douglas.
I wasn't paying attention.
Are you sure?